Rachel Reeves has been accused of misleading us over the state of our finances as she plotted her £30 billion tax rate, allegedly to save herself and the Prime Minister.
Yes, because the Office for Budget Responsibility have now revealed that a series of statements in recent weeks from Rachel Reeves and her officials actually falsely exaggerated the fiscal shortfall that she faced, preparing the ground for her to raise taxes and welfare spending.
Let's talk to the Deputy Political Editor for The Spectator, James Heal. So what has happened, James, as far as we can tell?
So in the last couple of days, there's been this big back and forth row between the Office of Budget Responsibility, the main watchdog, and the Chancellor about the timeline that led up to the budget which she delivered on Wednesday. We've obviously had weeks of speculation about the extent to which there was going to be a black hole, how much headroom there was going to be for the Chancellor in making that. And the OBR have now released a letter setting out a timeline explaining, actually, they told the Chancellor as far back as August that the productivity review it was doing, which it downgraded, was going to go ahead. And actually that she wasn't going to have this kind of black hole that she was suggesting. She actually had £4 billion extra headroom at the beginning of last month. So actually there's the question about, was the market misled on about all this? Was the Chancellor honest about it when she gave her press conference? And I think we're going to see those questions asked, first of all, on the morning round tomorrow, when the Chancellor will be out talking to broadcasters, and also on Tuesday when the head of the OBR will be up before the Treasury Select Committee as well. Because
some of her political enemies, if you like, are sort of suggesting that she always intended to tax and pay out for welfare. And then when she got the good news from the OBR that there wasn't a black hole to fill, she decided to use that as an excuse anyway, even though she knew it was false.
Absolutely. And I say this ties into the wider thing about the sort of briefings that went on the budget. Was the Chancellor and her officials and her allies all very kind of upfront about what was going on to all of this? And actually, as you say, there's the question about, first of all, was sort of investment decisions undermined by this? And second of all, was she completely upfront in terms of the justification for this? She said, look, I've got no other choice but to do this. And actually people are saying, well, look, you have much more headroom than this. This is an excuse to do the budget you've always wanted, which your own MPs have wanted, which is to raise taxes to increase public sector spending.
Yeah, mind you, if she hadn't have done that, I mean, one of the positives out of this budget, if you can find any, is that we now have a £22 billion headroom, which is healthy-ish, but it's not as big as it normally is. So if we hadn't had the tax rises, I hate to say it, we wouldn't have that much headroom. I mean, that will be very much the argument that's made on all of this, and the Treasury has hit back and said that the OBR has breached the kind of safe space they use in public policy making. So I think there's going to be a real sort of standoff in all of this. But, I mean, in terms of, I suppose, the key thing about the Chancellor is she's meant to have credibility, she's meant to explain the narrative of all this, and I think when it comes to these statements, there is a sense of diminishing returns. So if we can't trust her with this budget, what can we trust her with future financial...
Well, I mean, some of the newspapers, even on their front pages, are calling her a liar. And that is an incredibly serious allegation to make against the Chancellor of the Exchequer, for heaven's sake, if she was found out to have deliberately lied. I mean, this is big.
It is big, yes, and I think that she is going to be in a real bit of hot water over this. I don't think she'll necessarily go, but I think it's definitely very damaging for a Chancellor who already has the lowest approval ratings of any on record. It
leaves... I mean, look, nothing is going to happen directly after this budget. That's become quite clear. However, the May elections, if they go as predicted at the moment, it's very hard to see how even the Prime Minister can keep his job, frankly.
I think that's very much the sense of the conversation in the Labour Party, talking to people are waiting to see how bad it's going to be. I mean, Wales, they've won every Welsh election and general election there for 100 years, Labour. They look currently to come third there. They could come third in Scotland. They could lose seats all across the country. And so there will be that chance to take stock and reevaluate and consider how we got the right Prime Minister and Chancellor in place, given the current direction of this party and this government.
All right, James, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you a little bit later on.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GBNews viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 73% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 73% off ExpressVPN plus 4 extra months free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
The Telegraph. Is Reeves on the ropes?
Yeah, I think she probably is. So this is obviously Reeves misleading the public, really, saying we needed emergency surgery on the public finances, but actually we didn't. Actually the economy was in a better position, and she kind of misled the public, really. And already I feel the middle classes are feeling battered and bruised, demoralised, and now on top of that they feel distrustful and they feel they've been misled. So I think it's going to be a very tricky few days for Miss Reeves.
Why would she do that?
Oh, I can't answer that question. I don't know. I can't.
You'd think if she'd learned from the OBR that actually she'd gotten out of a black hole, you'd think she'd stand up
exactly.
and want the credit.
I'm beyond explaining anything that this current Chancellor has done. And I mean, the whole run-up to the budget was it was laughable. Do you remember that? I mean, Kemi Badenoch referred to it in her budget response quite brilliantly when our Cheerios were interrupted with a Downing Street press conference at about 8:10 in the morning, which said absolutely nothing. It was like, we're going to have to do something about income tax. And of course, nothing happened after that. I think she's in trouble. I think she's, to use a maritime analogy, she's holed, but not quite yet beneath the waterline. But I think just piles on the pressure against Rachel Reeves. And I saw James Heal earlier talking about this. I think, her next crisis point, she won't be going anywhere before Christmas, but I think the May elections will be pivotal to whether or not she survives. And she gave this quite boisterous speech, didn't she, in the media, talking about, I'll be here for the next budget and the year after, etc. And I found myself thinking, that's quite brave.
Yeah. I feel that before there was incompetence, there was the kite flying, and as you say, the Cheerios interruption, and that was all building into a narrative that she might go by May. But this is actually something very concrete that she's actually done. She's actually misled the public. So I think if any kind of independent inquiry proves that to be true, I think she'll be out before Christmas.
And this doesn't help with integrity in politics, does it? I mean, people have, understandably, quite a low opinion of some of our politicians. Then you read about this, and you just find yourself thinking, I could understand why people would never believe another word a politician said again in the future, because if it turns out she deliberately misled the public, that is really serious, and we need to get trust back in politicians and integrity in politics. I mean, God knows we need it.
Just briefly, what did you think of Kemi Badenoch?
I thought she did an amazing job. I mean, she did go quite hardcore. She was pretty angry.
Yeah,
but I think
you see the anger in her.
Yeah, and it made for an amazing performance, because she's had some lacklustre performances in the past. But I think she's reflecting the anger of the nation. I mean, especially the middle classes. We're furious. We can't get opportunities, jobs. Oh, it's just, we're all kind of going a bit mad. And she really
pulled in on her in a Thatcher, didn't she?
I thought she was brilliant. I thought it was outstanding, to use the breakfast cereal analogy. It's clearly she had more than 2 Weetabix that morning. She
more
was
than 2
brilliant.
espressos.
Exactly, and she was on fire, and it was the Kemi that I've wanted to see for several months. And she's been challenged. Well, it's all about breaking through, but she was challenged in the last couple of days after the budget. People saying, did you not go too far? Was it too personal? And she rightly said, this is the Labour Party who don't hold back against the Conservatives' track record. This is the Labour Party whose MPs, and up until recently Deputy Prime Minister, were recorded branding all Conservatives as scum, right? So, let's put this into context. Kemi doesn't have a case to answer. I thought it was her best speech to date.
I thought her advisors must have said to her, try and make Rachel Reeves cry.
I thought Rachel Reeves would cry at one point.
Baiting her all the time.
She looked very sad, Rachel, at points.
Shocked she looked.
I like the pantomime of the up and the down, it was a real show.